We'll go ahead and begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Morning, everyone. Welcome to the Thursday, January 21st meeting of the Board of County Commissioners. Madam Clerk, we have a lot on our agenda. Let's get started.
Okay, the first item is item 2, unfinished business. Number 1, consider appointment of a building code committee to review and recommend adoption of building codes applicable to unincorporated Shawnee County and a building code program to administer and enforce the building code.
Good morning, Barry Beagle, Shawnee County Planning Department. As the Commission will recall, this first appeared before you on January 11th. You accepted the report and recommendation of the Building Code Exploratory Committee back on December 10th and directed the Planning Department to move forward with a proposal for taking the next step forward. And that's what was presented to you on January 11th. In the intervening time, I have contacted some additional individuals and asked about their willingness to serve on the committee. And with your permission, I would like to hand out just a revised proposal along with a committee membership sheet with regard to all the individuals.
Thank you.
Thank you.
As it stands right now, 20 individuals have been contacted and agreed to serve on the committee, and that's why the proposal sheet has been updated. No other change to the proposal has been made. And then I've also given you the direct contact information for each of the 20 members. Again, what is requested is your permission to go ahead and appoint a building code committee that would get started with the task of defining a building code for the unincorporated area, and then also defining a building code program to administer and enforce those regulations. One of the things that I was hoping that there might be some discussion by the County Commission this morning was on our relationship and coordination with the City of Topeka. Throughout the Building Code Exploratory Committee meetings, it was discussed that why reinvent the wheel? Why don't we just partner, well, not partner necessarily, but why don't we mirror at least the City of Topeka's building codes, so that way when we're building on either side of the city limit line, we're responding to the same code, that way. So that would be one item for your consideration discussion. The other was, too, is to provide the overall direction to the committee with regard to the administration of the building code within the unincorporated area. It was also discussed, since the City of Topeka already has an enforcement staff, that maybe there would be some interest by the County Commission to pursue negotiating with the City of Topeka to extend their building code and code program into the unincorporated area. I wanted to be able to provide the Building Code Committee with some sense of direction in getting started with their task. And if there is interest first to negotiate with the City of Topeka, then that would significantly alter the scope of the committee's work. So I just lay that before you for your discussion.
Thank you, Barry. And you also did check to see how many on the potential committee reside in the unincorporated areas of the county?
Yeah, primarily what I had received was the business addresses for these individuals, so there's a smattering between the city and county. I don't have an exact number based upon their home address at this point in time, because the most relevant information that I could ascertain at the time was what their business location was. And I would have to say that the vast majority of the people who are on the committee list at this point are City of Topeka residents. But at the same time, we're also looking for them for their expertise in the building and trade professions. And these individuals build on either side of the corporate limit line. There really is no distinction from that perspective as to whether they're applying that trade and expertise within the City of Topeka or within the unincorporated area.
And thank you for contacting the mayors of the smaller
Yes.
cities. I did hear from a couple of them just thanking us that we did notify them and make them aware of this potential action. So, Commissioners, any comments or feedback? Commissioner Archer?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. The idea of working with the city of Topeka has promise, but at this point, I don't know the advantages, I don't know the disadvantages, I don't know the cost, I don't know the benefits. You haven't presented that, so how can we give you direction without some information and facts about that process?
Well, with regard to that, if it was the political motivation of the county commission to pursue first negotiation with the city of Topeka, then that's the direction we would go. Obviously, we don't know what the relevant facts are going to be in terms of cost relative to the city of Topeka and ultimately to Shawnee County to participate or work jointly with the city of Topeka, as opposed to just setting up our own independent county building code program. So no, I cannot address that. I just wanted to get some sense of orientation of the county commission as to the preference and direction that you would like to go.
But if I may, I think it would be helpful in providing direction to have information, and we really don't have any.
Very good.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Cook?
Commissioners, we have 20 people who are well-versed in their field of practice. They would be experts in the community regarding building and development in the Shawnee County and the surrounding areas. I think that should be left to the committee to bring back to the commission. Whether we have one unified code, that would be City of Topeka and Shawnee County. It's my understanding the City of Topeka has been looking at revising their code, updating, going to a new code, and it doesn't make much sense for us to be one step ahead or one step behind. And if I was a developer or builder in the county that did work both in the county and the city, it would make business sense to have one book that I go to, one standard that I go to. And ultimately, what I envision this commission looking at is why we have two separate committees, two separate bodies that are taking up this issue, and whether or not there could be a unified body at one future point for planning and development in Shawnee County and City of Topeka.
Thank you. And, you know, while there are some things that are very similar with the city of Topeka, there are vast areas of unincorporated areas of Shawnee County that are very different than the city of Topeka. So I think for the committee to take a look at this, I'm not going to provide any direction either way. I'm just saying there are pretty big differences, and I appreciate the individuals who have stepped up and look forward to the work that they will do. Any action at this time?
I do have one other point. The time frame is said to be 2 years. That seems extremely long to me. I don't think that's justifiable. And the other point I wanted to make on page 2 of 3 and about the middle, it says self-supporting approach to the greatest extent possible. The primary orientation for development of the building code is to be self-supporting. I would like to change that, eliminate that to the greatest extent possible, and say the development of the building code is to be self-supporting. I don't think property taxpayers ought to be subsidizing construction and other expenses that go with new construction in the unincorporated area. So I think it should be fully funded by the contractors and the people that are actually building property.
Commissioner Archer, could you read that back to
Sure.
us again, please? To the
Self-supporting approach would just say the development of the building code program is to be self-supporting. This means the design of the program fee structure is to minimize, instead of minimize, let's say to eliminate taxpayer expense in support of the program. So I would make that amendment to the proposal.
And was there any change on the time frame? I know you mentioned 2 years.
That's up for discussion. I think 2 years is way too long to be
It
moving
does-
this down the road.
It does say within 2 years. I mean, so we're not,
It does say within 2 years, and that was not just a pie-in-the-sky type of figure that was pulled out. In conversations with the building and trades individuals who serve on the exploratory committee and have been involved on the ground floor of crafting a building code for the first time and defining it for their jurisdiction and then defining the program, they say it is not an easy task, and therefore it could take upward between 1 year and 2 years timeframe to go through all the details, not only associated with the code, but then in turn, then defining how that code is going to be administered and enforced.
Okay.
So I was just acknowledging their input and indicating that timeframe.
okay, thank you.
Commissioner,
But-
Madam Chair,
Yes.
if we could make that 1 year so that they would return within 1 year, and if they need more time, we would then look at that. But I agree with Commissioner Archer. If we're looking at, we won't hear anything back from the committee for 2 years, that's really outside of what is reasonable. So if we set it as a bare minimum, this committee is to return to us within 1 year.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I think it's Parkinson's law that says that work expands for the time available to do it, and I don't want to be waiting here for 2 years to have a report back, so I would support the 1 year.
Barry, did you have a comment on that? No? Okay, let's deal with the first proposed amendment on the self-supporting approach. There was a motion to
Second.
change that language. There's a motion by Commissioner Archer, second by Commissioner Cook. All in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. And then for the time frame,
I'll make a motion to modify that to 1
1
year.
year.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Archer. All in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries 3-0.
Motion to approve the proposal as amended.
Second.
And there is a motion to approve the proposal as amended by Commissioner Archer and a second by Commissioner Cook. Discussion? All those in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries 3-0. Thank you, Barry, and good luck on your work. Thank you.
Item 3, consent agenda.
Commissioners, are there questions on the consent agenda?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I do have a question. I don't believe that we have anybody who's available from the court, but I do note that items 1, 2, and 3 are in excess of $17,000. And when we're spending taxpayer dollars in the tens of thousands, I believe that it's appropriate to have some feedback as to what that is going for. I know that the court has kept in touch with us as to updates to their computer system. They're between administrators at this point, but I think that it's due diligence on the part of us as the commissioners to understand where our tax dollars are going on items 1, 2, and 3. And as to items 4, 5, 6, 8, and 9, I didn't know if Tom Block might be able to speak from a Public Works perspective, updating us as to what projects Public Works is working on. Again, for the sake of transparency, it's good for the public to know that our Public Works Department is out and working on multiple projects in the county.
On the first 3 items, I will note that they're from 2015 funds as well. So noted. On the following, 4, 5, 6, 8, and 9, I don't know if Tom has any other comments on those items?
Tom Block with Public Works and Solid Waste. As is stated in the item, those are the locations of several projects that we're working on. Particular 8 and 9, actually, those easements, these items are regarding an issue that had been discovered where there was an error made several years ago on the description of a couple of easements, in which the legal description actually was kind of like reversed, when we were getting some easement for a roadway. However, the easement was written up was county actually got the easement for the people's property and not the actual section of the roadway. This is to correct that, where we take
Right.
the easement for the roadway section, and the people's property is, that was an error that we had just discovered, and that was done several years ago, I think before my time, I believe. And as far as other projects, we've got several culvert projects under design, all the different locations. I guess I can't say exactly where. Most of the time, we have easements come in. For instance, like on Southwest 89th Street, we have a few projects we're looking at doing this summer, replacement there. Same with Northeast 74th, like we have a culvert project there. Later in the agenda here, we have a bridge replacement that we'll be asking for approval. That's been under design for some time and recently taken bids. So I guess off the top of my head, I don't have a laundry list, but that's something the commission would like. I can become a little more prepared than I am just to rattle things off the top of my head.
And Commissioner Bueller,
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's important, we focus a lot of our attention as the commission on big projects, but it's important to know the Public Works Department is very, very busy on more than just one or two bridge projects in the county. And we've got a lot of projects going, and the Public Works Department does so very expeditiously and very professionally. And just to note that.
And also, in regards to that, what we typically do in the early first quarter of the year, usually by February, is we will go out and we will drive all of our roads to see how they've handled the winter. Because usually when it comes to the late winter, early springs, when you start to see potentially some deterioration from the winter weather. And when we go and we do that inventory, that is when we then determine which roads we're going to be performing maintenance on that coming summer, for this summer. So whether it's asphalt paving or just chip sealing. So we don't have that list developed yet, but that is something that we would anticipate at least by March. So I can't give you a list of what roads we would be anticipating to work on this year. But.
Thank you, Tom. Any further questions?
I don't. And just a further note, Commissioner, if I may, Tom, I appreciate all the work that Public Works does and really focusing in on the whole county. And these are projects that are spread out over the entire county and not just in one area.
Right. Yeah. Right. And yeah, we have quite a laundry list, especially large culvert projects that we do in house. They get designed in house, surveyed in house, and then our own crews go out and construct them. I don't know if a lot of people are aware that we do a lot of our own in-house construction and things like that, but we typically do anywhere, depending on how big some of the culverts might be, anywhere from 8 to 12, 8 to 12 or 15 projects a year in-house with our own what we call a bridge crew. So,
If I may ask a question.
Yes.
Does that save the taxpayers money?
Oh, it sure does. It sure does. One, we're able to do the design. We're able to do a design that's, when you do a design and you let it out for bid, you have to try every I dotted and T crossed, so that when people bid it, they know exactly what they're bidding. When we design them in house, we can be a little more general, I guess, for lack of a better term, because we can communicate directly with the people who will be doing the work all the time, and we're always right there because they're not having to bid on it, and so it's not, you don't have to quote unquote make it fair for several other people so that they're bidding the same thing. We're working with our own crews, and so we have that communication and know what we want with our own staff, and not have to go that, put a lot of extra detail into the plan, more efficient plans. And then when it comes to constructing them, we don't have the overhead and the profit and things like of that nature that would go into a normal construction bid. So yes, I would say we can definitely save the taxpayers money doing it that way.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for allowing us to take that opportunity to discuss this.
Sure.
I'll make a motion then to approve the consent agenda as presented.
It's a motion to approve the consent agenda by Commissioner Cook.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Archer. All those in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries 3-0.
Item 4, new business. A, County Clerk, number 1, consider all voucher payments.
Madam Chair, this morning we have a voucher report dated January 20th of 2016. Total amount of $2,327,595.23. The significant amounts in that voucher report include pooled cash for payroll and capers, $855,000. Payment to AMR for $152,000. District court expense of $38,000. Equipment fund of $279,000. American Presort, $120,000. Kansas Director of Vehicles, $131,000. Health insurance expense of $301,000, and $74,000 to Alexander Open Systems. I have reviewed the vouchers and have my questions answered, and I'll make a motion to approve the vouchers as presented.
Thank you. There's a motion by Commissioner Archer,
Second.
second by Commissioner Cook. All in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries 3-0.
Item A2, consider correction orders.
I'll move approval of the correction orders. Is there a
Second.
second? Second by Commissioner Archer. All in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Item B, Bond Council, number 1, consider approval of resolution number 2016-8, authorizing the county Emeritus Investment Corp. As underwriter and Robert J. Perry Esquire to effectuate the issuance of the county's general obligation bonds, the proceeds from which may be used to prepay the county's 2009 lease purchase agreement and defease the covenants under the corresponding trust agreement, thereby reducing interest costs for the county.
Good morning, Bob Perry. This follows the same pattern that we did a couple times in 2015. Basically, we're restructuring some debt in order to reduce the interest costs that would correspond to the payment of those obligations.
Thank you. Any questions on the resolution?
Move to approve the resolution.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Archer and second by Commissioner Cook.
Thank you.
All in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries 3-0.
Item C, Public Works Solid Waste. Number 1, consider awarding bid for the Southeast Tecumseh Road Bridge over Stinson Creek project in an amount of $341,008.02 to Claver Construction, Inc., and authorization and execution of contract C-15-2016 for same.
Commissioners, Tom Block again with Public Works and Solid Waste. This is a project that I just mentioned here a moment ago, and this would be the replacement of a bridge on Southeast Tecumseh Road over Stinson Creek, which is just north of Southeast 29th Street. This has been in design for some time, but we took bids here on January 6th, and we received 2 bids, with the low bid coming in from a Claver Construction in the amount of $341,008.02. We've worked with Claver in the past. They're a very reputable firm, do very good work. And this project, in regards as far as how it will, in relation to the Willard Bridge project, this project and the funding for this had been accounted for in the project funding scenarios that we had presented previously regarding the Willard Bridge. So this will not impact that whatsoever. The numbers we've given you regarding Willard Bridge had been accounted for in that, this project had been accounted for in that summary. So I guess it is our recommendation that we award the bid to Claver Construction in the amount of $341,008.02. And the funding for this will come from the current half-cent sales tax program. So if there's a question, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Thank you, Tom. Questions? Commissioner Cook?
Tom, I note that the bridge was designed by Cook, Flatt, and Strobel Engineers, PA. That's a local firm here in Topeka.
Yes, they're based out of Topeka.
And so we try to keep our tax dollars here local as much as we can. So,
Yes.
And then this is a Kansas company, the Claver Construction.
Yes. We have several firms throughout the community that can design this type of work. So typically, unless there's some very extenuating circumstances that would preclude us not to select a firm for design, we typically will award it to a firm, the design to a firm in Topeka. Now, when it comes to bids, you get what you get as far as where these companies are located, but both of these companies that have bid and several others that we worked with are extremely reputable and very high quality. So we have absolutely no qualms whatsoever about working with Claver in this case.
Madam Chair, I just
Yes.
think it's important to note that we do try to reinvest the money back into the community, and we do try to invest the money into Kansas companies. And so that's important for us to note.
Very good to note, but our bid process is the best, most responsive bid, I believe, and that's, while I do think we try to award those bids to local companies, in the case of the Willard Bridge bid, that's a significant savings. So our policy is best, most responsive, so noted though.
Yeah.
And in regards to Willard Bridge, and that is extremely specialized type of work.
It
And,
is.
there aren't many companies, and they are typically regional companies that bid on that type of work. So-
Yeah. Okay. Further questions?
No, I'll make a motion to approve the bid acceptance.
It's a motion by Commissioner Cook.
Second.
There's a second by Commissioner Archer. All in favor, say aye. Anyone
And
opposed?
with that, again, now that it's been approved, just to give you an update of what the schedule of this project will be. They will begin as early as next week, and the construction is to be completed by the end of April. So,
Good.
So folks should be aware of that that road will end up being closed. So, thank you.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Item D, Health Department. Number 1, consider approval of letter to David C. Sanford, Chief Executive Officer of Grace Med Health Clinic, Inc., to support their service area competition additional area grant application to support operation of the Federal Qualified Health Center in an amount of $1,263,965.
Good morning, Commissioners. Alice Weingartner, Health Agency. This letter is asking, or this request is asking for your approval to sign a letter of support for Grace Med's application to apply for the Federally Qualified Health Center funding for the operations of the FQHC in Shawnee County. Should the award be made, we anticipate notification would be in early March, and then with the operational change being effective in early July. So that's the current timeline for this process. I'd be happy to answer any other questions. I will also note that we've had a number of other community partners who are also submitting letters of support, from our state legislators to our social service organizations. So we're probably at least at about 20 letters of support at this point, so we anticipate a few more in the next couple of days. This application is due February 2nd, and Grace Med will be submitting that.
Great. Thank you, Alice. Are there questions on the proposed letter? No? I'll move approval of the request. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Cook. All in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries 3-0.
Item D2, consider authorization and execution of contract C16-2016, amending contract C416-2015 with Alan Schramm to continue as volunteer health insurance navigator to assist individuals enrolling in the healthcare insurance marketplace through June 30th, 2016 as needed.
Commissioners, this request is to continue to have Mr. Schramm help support the process for folks to enroll in the health insurance marketplace. The original contract we wrote to December 31st in anticipation of that January 1 operational change. With the marketplace still being open for a few more weeks, and we know that there can be events, life-affecting events, that can help or cause people to be eligible for insurance through the marketplace. We want to have just that extra support that we can have him come in and help those individuals. So there is no cost for Mr. Schramm to volunteer, and I know he's been doing a really good job, and folks have really enjoyed working with him. So we'd like to be able to have him available to us.
Thank you. Other questions on the contract?
I'll make a motion to approve the contract.
There is a motion by Commissioner Cook. Is there a second? I will second. All in favor say aye. Anyone opposed?
No.
Motion carries 2-1. Commissioner Archer dissenting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item E, Audit Finance. Number 1, consider approval of 2016 memberships, dues, and subscriptions for all departments in a total amount of $123,422.
Good morning,
Morning.
Betty Griner, Director of Administrative Services. Each year, we bring a list of the memberships, dues, and subscriptions to you for your approval, and these are the amounts that would be paid throughout the year. As you know, each department puts together this list in May for their budget for the next year. So what we do, since that is a significant time period between the two, at the beginning of each year, we ask them to go back and review that before this list comes to you for approval. The departments have done that. This is the reviewed listing of those. I will also mention that we do give them a $50 leeway on these. You know, say the membership doesn't come due till July. You know, they may not know if there's a small increase in that. So we do give them a $50 leeway on each line item. On the list that you have, there's also a column that lists the purpose and the need for each of these. So I ask for your approval, and I will try to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Betty. Any significant changes
No.
that are noted? And once this list is approved, then if there are additions, then the departments
Yes,
are
then they
required
would
to
need
come back.
to come to you or have it on the agenda for approval, anything that's not on this list,
Right.
or anything that the change is more than $50.
Right, okay, thank you. Questions? I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the request.
I'll second.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Archer. All in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Betty.
Item F, corrections. Number 1, consider authorization and execution of contract C-17-2016 with Alexander Open Systems, Inc. to purchase equipment and a 5-year license for Wi-Fi access points for the Juvenile Detention Center at a cost of $4,997.05, with installation by the Shawnee County IT Department at an estimated cost of no more than $1,000.
Good morning, Brian Cole, Shawnee County Department of Corrections. It has been mentioned more than once during commission meetings regarding the departments to look at ways to go paperless, and this is our attempt to do that. I am asking for request authorization to purchase a Wi-Fi access points and 5-year license for the Juvenile Detention Center, which all the work would be done through our IT department, and we have consulted with our IT department regarding this. That part of our positive behavior support system is a system that was set up that allows us for the officers to have iPads to be able to do all their documentation with the juvenile offenders, the incentive points of the project, and to make all the documentation and the data and everything that we would use to show the advantages and the disadvantages of this program, the successes, and where we need to make improvements. This program has been, would be funded through our juvenile detention facilities fund, which is basically grant funds that we get through the state of Kansas, and would be no cost to Shawnee County or our budget. I do believe this would help us be more efficient, more effective, and again, it will save us money because we are going paperless, things like that. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Very good, thank you. Questions?
Move to approve the contract.
Second.
There is a motion to approve the contract by Commissioner Archer and second by Commissioner Cook. All in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries 3-0. Thank you.
Item G, Parks and Recreation. Number 1, consider authorization and execution of contract C-18-2016, first phase, with professional engineering consultants to provide study and analysis services to review the hydraulic capacity of the Cypress Ridge Golf Course pond and structure, and to make recommendations for potential repair alternatives related to the earthen embankment and appurtenances at a cost of $9,650 paid from a project fund established by Audit Finance.
Good
Just
morning,
check, see if he's
Commissioners.
paying attention.
You think my reaction was strange. You ought to have seen this lady right behind me. 9,000. Commissioners, if you recall, this item was in front of the Commissioners back in December. Kerry Golden, Director of Golf, has been working on this project. This is a contract to have PEC do the formal design of the repairs that need to be made. They've been in initial contact with several state agencies to make sure that whatever we're going to do is in compliance with those regulations. Be happy to answer any other questions you may have.
Thank you. John, questions? None?
I'll move to approve the $9,650.
Very good.
I'll second. I'll also note that Mr. Golden noted today, Commissioner Archer, there's no wait for your tea time at Cypress Ridge.
It's a motion by Commissioner Archer and second by Commissioner Cook. All in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you.
Item H, appraiser. Number 1, consider authorization and execution of contract C-19-2016 with Keller Craig and Associates for a 2016 capitalization rate study for Shawnee County at a cost of $28,000.
Morning, Commissioners. Steve Bauman, County Appraiser. With this request, I'm asking you to approve the agreement with Keller Craig and Associates for the performance of our 2016 capitalization rate study. This study assists us in the valuation of commercial industrial properties and defense of those values as well. We had contracted with Mr. Keller probably every 2 to 3 years over the last 10. So consistency in form and substance is very important to us as well. So this will be processed as a sole source purchase under the purchasing policy. The agreement has been reviewed by the Counselor's Office and consulted with Ms. Kreiner on the issue, and we have sufficient funding in our 2016 budget. Be happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Thank you, Steve. I might have a question for Betty. Sole source and waiving of the, what are the required actions for this? Just to identify as a sole source?
Is sent to me, and I sign off on it, that I agree that there is a purpose for the sole source. That I think Steve has gone over why he felt like it was necessary to have this as a sole source.
Okay. Do we not have a sole source form that is usually filled out?
Yes, there should be.
And I don't know that
I don't know that has been sent to me yet for signature.
It has not. I was
Okay.
under the impression that came later.
Well, and really, we only need the sole source form by the time we make the actual payment.
Okay.
For it, that's attached, and that is part of the attachment for the payment
Documentation.
request.
Okay, thank you. Other questions?
I'll move approval of the request.
It's a motion by Commissioner Cook. Commissioner Archer?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have to abstain from voting on this contract. I have a family member who works part-time for Keller Craig, so I will be abstaining in this vote.
Thank you. I will second the motion. All in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries 2-0-1. Commissioner Archer abstaining. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item I, Human Resources. Number 1, consider implementation of compensation study results for classified employees.
Good morning again. Betty Greiner, Director of Administrative Services. What I'm bringing to you today is the next step for the compensation study, the implementation of their results. This is for the classified employees of the county and also for the unclassified employees that are on the county scale. This does not include department heads or elected officials. It also does not include any of the positions within the bargaining units. I will mention that the county is currently negotiating with all of the bargaining units, but that is not part of this implementation that we're looking at today. There's 3 points there, and I'll go over each one of them.
Please.
The first one is to make the implementation retroactive to the first full pay period in 2016, or you could say that another way, the first pay period beginning in 2016. There are, as you know, our payroll is done through the IFAS system, so there's many changes that have to be made. Those changes involve many departments. The Human Resources Department, IT, County Clerk, and Audit Finance are all involved in those changes. Each of these are new pay scales, so those have had to be programmed in to the system. Each of these employees, they've had to enter in their proper pay grade, their step, their appropriate funding sources. So it's been a project to get this all ready. We are now to the point that we are ready to implement this, the changes for just these employees, but that and that these changes would be done no later than the pay period beginning on January the 23rd. So that will be the beginning of our next pay period, and that would, so the results, they would see the results in their pay that they receive on February the 12th. The next item would be, there are some outstanding issues that need to addressed, and CBIZ states that these are common and necessary, with any comp study. You kind of, you have to there's always items that arise during the time of the study. We can't stop time, do a study, and then start up again. So there are always those issues that come up, in the process of it. What we are asking is for your permission for the Human Resources Director, the Director of Administrative Services, and working with the department heads to make these final adjustments that are necessary as part of implementing the CBIZ study. I'll give you some examples here. Some of them was that CBIZ recommended, after looking at the position descriptions and the questionnaires on those that the department heads felt like needed reviewed, they may have made a recommendation that employee needed to be put into a different position title. And there again, that is something that is recommended by CBIZ at their review, or after their review. That's one of the items we would ask to adjust. Another one is placement of a new position. There may not have been any individuals in that position at the time we sent them the information and asked them to send the results on those positions. So they will have worked with us on where that new position would fall within their scales. It may be a new position, completely new position to the county that we've had to figure out, with them where that falls within their scales. Then the last items are, there are internal equity adjustments. Again, CBIZ says that these are common and necessary as part of this study, because it's not, everything is not completely black and white. But they do warn that these are for unusual situations. They're like one-off or unique situations. They are not to revamp the entire structure of the study or an entire department. They are to look at those unique situations. They emphasize that these adjustments should be the results of placing a position at the correct salary range, and it's not a desire to reward or retain high-performing employees. As they word it, as placing the value of the job, not the incumbent.
Right.
So I think it's very important that we realize that in these scales, we are looking at placing the position, not the person. And, we are looking at trying to place those individual positions at where the market shows they need to be. There's also adjustments can be needed if there's a need to properly align specific position within the organization, within a department's organization or something. Sometimes you need to make sure that if someone is promoted, you have the desired salary gap between the two positions, so that's something that may need to be looked at also. So there again, what we're asking is that we're asking for you to give authority for the director of the department or the elected official, the HR director, and the director of administrative services to make these decisions if they can all three agree that this is a necessary adjustment that falls within these parameters. If there is no agreement between the three of us, then it would come to the commission for your consideration on that item. So, do you have any questions on all that I went over?
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Commissioners, Tom Blanc with Public Works, and I guess I wholeheartedly agree with the recommendations that Ms. Greiner just presented. I think the information provided to CBIZ I think what they did was as good as they can get with the information they've gotten, but there's always little odds and ends of things here that they are not privy to or may not have been made privy to. And as a department head, and knowing some circumstances within our own departments, I would fully agree with Ms. Greiner's and Mr. Crowell's recommendation.
Thank you. Commissioner Cook?
Ms. Greiner, during the budget process, we allocated $2.1 million for salary adjustments.
Yes.
And that's where these monies are coming from.
That's correct.
If I was to use it as an example, the county clerk, her budget presentation and budget was set on the employees that she had at that time and the salaries that they were earning at that time. With these adjustments, she could go above that budget. So are we going to be taking that 2.1 and then adjusting the department's budgets by that amount?
Yes, that's exactly right. What we will do is we have this pool of money that is set aside for these pay increases. What we will do is we will calculate exactly how much these pay increases will affect each department, and their budget will be increased by that amount of money.
And so when we publish our budget in August, setting a budget for the county clerk again, that amount would then be adjusted after all the negotiations are done with the classified, unclassified, and bargaining units.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And at the end, would we then have a republication or be able to put out in some manner so that if I was a citizen and I wanted to know what the exact budget for, again, the county clerk's office was, I would be able to find that amount?
Well, what we actually budget with the state is a total amount. It's not so much the breakdown between the departments. Now, I could certainly supply, a schedule that shows the breakdown of that and how that was reallocated. It would not change anything that we report to the state because theirs is on a total amount. But,
It would be our budget authority is what we
Yes,
file
yes.
within that budgeted amount. But yes, there would be some adjustments then to internal.
yes.
And so that might be
And I can
once
provide
we
that.
get through everything to see those. But we will be beginning
But
the
this-
2017 budget process here fairly
Yeah.
soon. So we'll be seeing those numbers as well.
And it really would not be until after all of the bargaining
Right.
units negotiations have been concluded because, and we will have items that need to be transferred for those individuals also.
Madam Chair, if I
Yes.
might, I think it's important for transparency that we have put out the exact budgets for each of the departments so that the public knows how those monies are allocated and how these salary adjustments are affecting the departments.
And I will just say that information is out there on our website. As we said, right now, that pool is left in one lump sum. And that could be adjusted, and then I could also put that revised one up on the internet.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Archer, any questions? Betty, I just might note, this is for 2016 implementation.
Yes.
So we are looking at a 3-year implementation. And so when we're looking at 17 and 18 cost for implementation of this study, that will need to be considered in those budget discussions.
Yes.
And so any cost of living discussion, anything like that we're looking at in year 2 and 3 would be considered then.
At that
But this is
time.
2016.
This is just 2016,
Okay.
yes.
Just want to make sure. Thank you. Further comments from anyone? John?
Real quickly, Commissioners, I was glad Tom Block got up here and said something about the CBIZ study, but there's another group. I've worked for the county for a long, long time. There's another set of people who also need to be thanked for this. This was almost an impossible task to make everybody happy, and the work that Jim Crowell and Betty have done on this is, and I'm one of them that hasn't been made happy all the time. But still, that process and the commission stepping out and actually doing this for the first time, I think you guys deserve a thank you as well. So,
Thanks, John. Yeah, and we still have a lot of heavy lifting to do. I mean, there's still a lot of decisions to make, and I know at some point in time, the compression issues with some of the classified and the department heads and that sort of thing, we have still quite a bit of work to do. So, thank you, John. Commissioner Archer.
Madam Chair, I will mention that on Tuesday we had meetings with department heads, and then we had meetings with employees, and there was a lot of spirited discussion in those meetings, and a lot of questions were asked, a lot of good questions, and we made a major change. And there are going to be questions, but we're going to continue to do process checks as we go along to make it better. And I think that's the main message that we need to send, that we're addressing employee compensation at Shawnee County. So, thank you,
Great.
Madam Chair.
Any further comments? I'll move approval of the request.
Second.
Oh, second, Commissioner Archer. All in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries 3-0.
I-2, consider approval of resolution number 2016-6, amending the Human Resource Policy Manual by rescinding section 4.7A, advancement within the salary range to properly reflect changes made to the county's payroll structure.
Good morning, Commissioners. Rich Eckert, Shawnee County Counselor. Section 4.7A works like this. If you've been hired by the Shawnee County, you're placed into a probationary status. At the end of 120 days, the department head or elected official gives a thumbs up or a thumbs down on that employee. If they are retained, then they advance one step on whatever range they're placed on. For people that are promoted, it's the same sort of deal, except that that time period is only 60 days. But again, there's a step advancement. That provision pre-exists even my grizzled veteran time here. So why it's in there, we can only assume, and one of the assumptions is that we kind of acknowledge that we don't really pay at market rate. And here's a little bonus to you, employee. You stay with us, we'll do this for you. Well, that's all changed now. With the CBIZ study, we are hiring people at market rate. Wherever that step one is, that's where CBIZ has told us that's where you need to be in the market. So the reason to advance an employee that step doesn't really exist anymore. So and I think we need to say again, this is unprecedented, the CBIZ study that we've done. It has not been done in the 16 years I've been here, a market study. So this is new, this is first, and so it really obviates the need for 4.7A.
Thank you, Rich, for the explanation.
And the only other thing I would add is that this will be effective today.
But it does not affect those who have been hired
Correct.
before. Okay. Any questions?
Move to approve the resolution.
Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Archer and second by Commissioner Cook. Discussion or comments? All in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries 3-0.
Item 5, administrative communications.
Any administrative communications? 0. Commissioner Cook, do you have anything?
Last night I had the opportunity to attend the Fred Attendance Gardens reception. It was a good reception. One of the notes and takeaways, last year the Fred Attendance Gardens had over 17,000 hours of community service. That adds up, if you were to take a 24-hour day, 81 days of volunteers round the clock. And so I think it's important to note, and Olivia Mayer with our volunteer coordinator with Parks and Rec noted that last year, which is the first year and not even a full year of recording volunteer time, there was over 22,000 volunteer hours. So 1,700 for Tinsley Gardens, 22,000 in Shawnee County alone. That's a lot of people giving back to their community, and I think it's important to note that we really have a good partnership between the public and the community and the county for our gardens and our parks and our areas.
Very good, thank you. Commissioner Archer?
Thank you, Madam Chair. A couple of items. Number one, today is the annual meeting of the Chamber of Commerce, and there's new young leadership at the Chamber, and Matt Pavarnik, and I look forward to hearing his vision for moving our community forward in economic development. This afternoon, the commissioners, one at a time, will be reviewing new voting machinery at the elections office. I go there at 3, and I think 2 and 4. 4, okay. So I didn't get the late shift. I was going to complain. And that's all I had. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Commissioners, just to make you aware, the Intergovernmental Cooperation Council met on January 19th at 7:30 at Washburn University. The library is the chair this year, and so Gina and Ted, our assistant, have everything well under control. There's an agenda, and those who are members, but they did pass out this 5 Shawnee County Public School Districts, one voice, and one united voice about education in Shawnee County, and they're using this for legislative action, potentially, for this year. So, but I thought it was a great example of coming together, and actually I was sitting at the table with the mayor, and we started talking as well, so I think they've initiated something. So keep you up to date on that, but I think it might be good if we add to the agenda, and I'm kind of looking to Rich, and I haven't mentioned this to him, an update on what's happening at the legislature. Things are moving pretty quickly already, and so I think it would be good for all the department heads to know, and putting that on I'll check with your schedule and getting that on a regular basis. Yeah. So, okay. I don't have anything else. I will just say that I know all the crews working very late into the night. I saw the recycling and solid waste. They were out working really. So thank you to everybody. Madam Clerk,
Executive session number 5 or 6.
I do not believe there is a need, Mr. Counselor. No? We are adjourned. Thank you.